Wela raga, how's it going everybody? Welcome to yet another advanced Italian video. Today we are going to be going over the highly requested topic of the imperative mood, also known as simply the imperative or the imperativo in Italian, and you will find that I will be referring to this as both the imperative and the imperativo just because I'm used to talking about it in both languages. So what is the imperativo? Why is it advanced Italian, and why is it so highly requested? Well, I don't know why it's so highly requested, but whenever I see tons of messages rolling in from you guys saying, hey, do you have a video on the imperative? Do you have a video on the imperative? Do you know what the imperative's all about? I'm like, okay, it's time I gotta finally sit down and create a video on this topic. But it is advanced Italian because this is what comes next after double object pronouns. I kind of alluded to it a little bit in that video, but basically you need to have a good understanding of Italian in general, and then specifically you need to have a good understanding of the present tense, double, indirect, and direct object pronouns. So once you know how to use all those pretty well, you can then start entertaining the imperativo. Now this is also a mood, keep in mind, okay? Similar to the congiuntivo. I know in some of the earlier videos of the congiuntivo I referred to it as a tense. It isn't a tense, it is a mood. I just called it a tense because I didn't want to get into what a mood is exactly. But just think of a mood as a way of using a particular tense just in a different way. So today we're going to be going over the imperative mood, which uses the present tense. So we use the imperative mood when you are giving a command, a direct order, or even when you are inviting someone to do something. You're simply telling them what to do. And you can use this in both a friendly and a not so friendly way. Like let's take for example the very common expression come here or come over here. Now if you have Italian parents or Italian grandparents, more likely than not you've heard the phrase vieni qua or vieni qui at some point in your life. Now this is a command. This is someone telling you to do something. Come here. Vieni qua. You, come here. Vieni qua. Now this can be used in both an inviting way, like, hey, come over here. Vieni qua. But it can also be used as, let's say, more in a unfriendly way, or more like when you're trying to discipline someone, like a little child. You're like, come here, because it did something wrong. Vieni qua. You know, so that is how we use the imperative. Everything can be used in more of a friendly and a not so friendly way. So let's see how we essentially form the imperativo. We're going to begin with negative commands. Now when I say negative, I mean we are telling someone not to do something. But before we get into that, I just need to let you guys know that with the imperativo, we mainly focus on three pronouns. Tu, which is the informal you, and singular you, when I'm just talking to you, one person. I know you, I'm calling you tu. Then we have voi, which is the plural form of you. It's when I'm addressing a group of you, all right? And then we have noi, which means us, well actually it means we, but it's when I'm referring to a group of us. It's when I'm telling all of us we should go and do something, all right? So those are the three main pronouns that we will be using. You of course can use this with the formal you, which is lei, but we will get into that in another video. So how do I tell you with tu not to do something? It's actually really easy. All you have to do is put non in front of the infinitive form of a verb. Now what does the infinitive form of a verb mean? It just means a verb that ends in are, ere, or ire. It has not been conjugated. So if I want to tell you, do not go there, do not enter, I would just say non entrare. Non entrare, do not go in there, do not enter. If I want to tell you don't speak, don't talk, I would just take the verb parlare, not conjugate it, leave it as parlare and put non in front of it. So I would say non parlare. Non parlare, don't talk. Now this is when I'm just addressing you, okay? When I'm addressing you guys, or us, or we, all I have to do is conjugate the verb in either the you guys or the noi, the us, the we, I keep saying us, the we form, and then you put non in front of it. So if I want to say, you guys, don't go in there, I would just say non entrate, non entrate. If I want to tell you guys don't talk, I would say non parlate, non parlate. Pretty simple, right? Same logic goes for noi, we just conjugate it normally in the present tense. Non entriamo, we're not gonna go in there, we're not going in. Non entriamo. If I want to say we are not talking right now, I would say non parliamo, non parliamo. Now let's go into positive commands. This is when I am telling you or inviting you to do something. So negative is when I'm saying don't do it. I'm advising you against it. When I'm telling you to do something, that is when we're saying we're giving a positive command, okay? Doesn't necessarily mean that we're being friendly. We could be friendly, but we could also be not so much, all right? But here's what we need to know. This is where it just gets a slightly bit more complex. Nothing difficult. You could totally handle this. For tu, with all regular are verbs, the verb ending will be a. It's not going to be the normal I, for example, which you see very often with tu. It's always going to be a. And then for all ere and ire verbs, it's the standard conjugation, which is usually the I at the end of the verb. So let's take a look at one of the most common expressions in Italian that I'm pretty sure all of you already know and use all the time, but probably didn't even realize you were using the imperative mood. It's when you say mangia, you know, mangia, mangia. What does that mean exactly? It just means eat. But it's when you're addressing one person, you're calling them tu, you know them, it's just one person, and you're saying, dai, mangia, like, come on, eat. That is how you use the imperative mood with tu when you're giving a positive command. You're telling someone to do something. Mangia, same thing as vieni qui. Now, why is it vieni? Why does it end in an I? Because the verb is venire, it's an ire verb. We just use a standard conjugation. Vieni qua, vieni qui. Qui and qua both mean here. You can use either one you like. So vieni qua, vieni qui, come here. You're inviting someone to do something, or you're telling them what to do. Vieni qua, because you're like, dude, you gotta do this, you gotta come here. Maybe someone did something wrong. And then we have noi and voi, we just use the regular conjugations for those. Dai, andiamo, if I wanna say, let's go. I'm talking to us, a group that I am included in. Let's go, andiamo. If I wanna tell you guys, come over here, I would say, venite qua. Venite qua, come here. Pretty simple, right? This is very straightforward stuff. Now let's go into the third section of this video, and if you take a look at the blog post that I have linked down below in the description, you'll see that I mapped it out in the same way. We begin the first section with the negative commands, then we have positive commands in the second section, and then we move on to the slightly even more complex section, which is section 3, commands with pronouns. Now this is where your knowledge of direct, indirect, and especially double object pronouns comes into play. You need to have a good understanding of those guys in order to really understand this. But in this video, we're just introducing the topic, okay? We're going over the fundamentals of the imperativo. There are more ways that you can use this, just more complex ways. We can really start getting creative, combining stuff, moving stuff around, and you can really say some pretty complex things with just one word. We're gonna preview that today, but we will get into that in a later video, because right now my mission is just to teach you the fundamentals and just to introduce this topic. So I'm going to first show you the complex command, as I'm going to call them, complex commands, because it's formed with complex stuff in grammar. And then I'm going to back into it and show you why it is what it is. And I'm specifically going to concentrate on telling you to either do something for me, to show something to me, well, yeah, to do or to show, because fare, you can use it to say to do or to show in this particular instance. I'm gonna tell you to say something to me and to give something to me, okay? Because I feel this is a really great starting point of showing you how to use complex commands, as I like to call them. So let's begin with saying that I want you to show something to me. We use the verb fare. Now fare means to do or to make. However, when you're using it as a command, it can also be used to mean to show. Like, make me see how to do something. Show me how to do it. That's when we use fare as to say to show, just in this particular instance, okay? So let's say I want to tell you, fammelo vedere. Fammelo vedere. What does that mean? That means show it to me. Show it to me. So now let's back into this. This is the end goal. Now what I'm going to do is break it down and show you how we got to fammelo vedere. Let's say I'm asking you for the book. This is going to be a great review of the indirect, the direct, and the double object pronouns. When I'm telling you, could you please show me the book? I can say, mi fai vedere il libro? Mi fai vedere il libro, which means, can you show me the book? It's a very nice, polite question. Can you please, or can you show me the book? If you want to say please, we'll tag on a per favore onto it. Let's say you don't show me the book. So I want to ask you again, but we know that we're talking about the book. So I can replace the book with a pronoun, with lo, calling it it, because it's masculine, singular. We went over all of that in the past videos. So I can say, me lo fai vedere, which is like, can you show it to me? Me lo fai vedere. But let's say now, third time around, you still haven't shown it to me. So I just want to tell you, I'm getting a little angry now. I'm like, dude, show it to me. I'm simply gonna say, fammelo vedere. Fammelo vedere. This is when you're commanding someone. You're telling them what to do. Show it to me. So what we do is we're taking the me and the lo and we're putting it at the end of the verb fare, okay? So fare becomes fa, and then we take me and lo and put it at the end. And the reason why it's a double M is because that's how you're pronouncing it. Whenever there are two letters next to each other in Italian, that means you need to show some more emphasis. Fammelo vedere, you really hear the M there. So this means show it to me, or simply show me. So you're kind of getting a good idea how this works. I'm going to show you another 2 examples, and I'm sure after you see those, it's pretty much repetition of what we just did. You're going to be like, this is pretty simple. So here's our next example. Dammelo adesso. Dammelo adesso means give it to me now. So this is our end goal. We're now going to back into it. Let's see how we get to this point. I'm going to ask you the question the first time. Mi dai il pane? Mi dai il pane, which means can you give me the bread? Mi dai il pane? Now you didn't give it to me. Second time around, I'm just gonna say, can you give it to me? Me lo dai? Me lo dai? Can you give it to me? Still didn't give it to me. Third time around, I'm just gonna tell you, give it to me. I will say, dammelo. Dammelo or dammelo adesso. Give it to me now. We bring everything together. It looks just like fammelo vedere, right? Dammelo adesso, give it to me now. Now, what would happen if this was a feminine thing, like I'm talking about give me the shoe, which is la scarpa. Typically, you always just say le scarpe because it's 2 shoes, but if you just want one shoe in particular, like you're trying to put on one shoe and the other shoe is halfway across the room, you're just like, hey, you over there, could you just, give this to me? Could you pass it to me? You would say, dammela. Dammela per favore, could you just give it to me? Dammela per favore. Even though when you want to be polite, usually you say, me la dai per favore, or mi dai quella scarpa. Usually that's when you're being more polite. That's why when you're saying dammelo or dammela, it's a little bit more commanding. It's not as friendly, but as you can see, you can really use it in both contexts, being friendly and not so much, so don't worry about it too much. So now our last example is dimmelo per favore, which means tell me please, or tell me it please. So let's back into this. How did we get here? The first time I'm asking you a question. Mi dici il segreto per favore? Could you tell me the secret please, or could you please tell me the secret? Mi dici il segreto? Second time, you haven't told me yet. Me lo dici per favore? Me lo dici per favore? Can you tell it to me please? Still haven't told me. Third time, I'm like, come on, just tell me. I'll say, dimmelo per favore. Dimmelo per favore. Tell me, or tell me it, please. See how this all works? This is pretty much the general foundation that you need to understanding the imperativo. The very last thing we're gonna cover today is how you would give a negative command when you're telling someone not to do it. I'm not gonna back into it like we just did because it's not necessary. We understand the logic. What I'm just gonna do is show you how to say these very same 3 phrases just negatively. I'm gonna tell you not to do it. So if I wanna tell you, do not show it to me, I would say, non farmelo vedere. Because remember in the beginning of this video I said, for all negative commands, you just keep a verb in its infinitive form. So that's why we say non farmelo vedere. And also, remember how we can tack on pronouns to the end of verbs in their infinitive form? See how all this information just comes together? This is why it's complex. This is why it's advanced. Because you need to have a good understanding of all that stuff to bring it together to form these statements. So our next example with dammelo adesso, give it to me now. If I want to say don't give it to me now, I would say non darmelo adesso. Non darmelo adesso. Don't give it to me now. And lastly, if I want to tell you don't tell me please, I would say non dirmelo per favore. Non dirmelo per favore. Don't tell me now. Don't say it to me now. Or please, actually, is how we should be saying it. There's no now in this statement. We could say non dirmelo adesso per favore. You could say that. You know, the thing is, with all of these phrases, they sound better when they're incomplete statements, when there's a lot more words. But because I'm just introducing this topic for the first time, I just really wanted to keep things simple and straight to the point. Alright guys, so that is everything that I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot. Be sure to check out the blog post link down below in the description. If you got any questions, feel free to reach out, and thanks so much for tuning in and checking out this video. Always remember to spread the love, guys. I'll catch you all next time. Ciao!